Welcome to the Pitch Your Pick podcast, the podcast where we dive deep into the sports books, find our favorite plays, and pitch them to each other to find the best plays every day. I'm Joe. This is Jer. How you doing today, my man?
I'm doing good. We just had a good laugh. I had a good day at work. Yeah, it was a good day. It was just quiet. Not really much going on.
I mean, you can't really complain about those, man. Ever. Now, I guess what I can complain about is the performance of yesterday's picks. My lord, you suck.
I did.
It's a 1-3. The record's not looking great. You're back to even, which that should be some motivation right there to make some better picks tonight. So the Jalen Brunson one was the only one that went over, or only one that went on a green check. Everything else was a fat L, especially that Raptors -6. I'm very upset with that one, but I'm still clinging on to a slightly positive record there at 11-8-1. And Jared's sitting there at a perfect little 9-9 even. So not too bad. Not too bad. Although I wasn't happy seeing a 1-3. It is what it is, though. So obviously, as always, we're going to check out the wonderful games that are set up tonight. We're going to have Jared always talk about the NHL first, because that's the most fun. And I think you said earlier that it's not looking too spicy, is it?
Yeah, no, there's only 4 games tonight. The Leafs are playing the Sabres. They're a -400 favorites already. The St. Louis Blues and the Rangers should be a pretty good game, though. It's almost a pick 'em on both sides at -110. The Los Angeles Kings are playing Dallas tonight. That might be a game to target an under in. Neither of these teams score all too much recently. And the Nashville and Seattle. I actually really like the Nashville team total in this game, but this line wasn't out yet at the time of recording.
Okay. And then for the NBA, I would also say that this is not the most amazing of what. It's not like we don't have a lot of games. I just don't think that the matchups are like very high quality. I don't know if you agree on that, but it's just like,
I didn't love the slate tonight either in the NBA. There's a lot of double-digit favorites, big favorites, and even the close spreads aren't great games, like the Kings in New Orleans.
Yeah, I was gonna say the closest spread tonight is the Magic and the Pacers, and I really don't see anybody getting excited about that game unless you're a fan of the Magic or the Pacers.
There is one game to get us excited about, though, and it's the Miami Heat at the Milwaukee Bucks.
And we'll also be talking about the 76ers and the Knicks. Those will be the 2 games. I'm bringing it to the 76ers and Knicks, obviously, and he's bringing it to the Heat's Bucks. And then I'll just quickly cover over college basketball. Now, we only have 4 top 25 matchups, and it's not the kind of case of most of these, I think, are pretty set in stone, but we will be talking about this number 5 Auburn going against Mississippi State just a little bit later. Although I do think this can be fun. This UConn-Creighton game could actually be pretty good, and LSU Arkansas as well. And we also do have a lot of Division I just overall games that are going to be going on, which is pretty cool. And a few games I just like the look of, a lot of ACC teams that I know well. And I'm probably just going to be, checking them out here and there. But overall, there's nothing that I'm too excited about. I love myself some top 25 matchups and just see what's going on with them. So overall, I think it's an okay night of games, but I'm not jumping out of my socks to really watch any of these. So I guess I'm going to start it off this time. It doesn't feel right whenever I start off the picks, but I'm going to do it just because, I can. And I guess I'll bring it to that Auburn and Mississippi State game. I like to get my college basketball out the way just because, it's college basketball. I don't really actually have any other reason besides that, if I'm being honest. So we're taking it to Auburn and Mississippi. Now, I'm looking at this right now, and when I was making my bets about half an hour ago, Auburn was only a -3 favorite. That's what I got it at. So I'm taking Auburn as -3 over Mississippi State, but it's currently at -3.5. And I still do like that. Obviously, I prefer the -3 just because we have that ability to possibly push. Always a benefit. But I think Auburn can even take this game by 4. So this game actually looks pretty damn decent for Auburn, even though they're only 3.5 point favorites. Now, this one can be a bit concerning, admittedly, because Auburn has actually lost 3 of their last 6 games. But before that, they had the longest winning streak in the NCAA with 19 consecutive wins, and 5 of those wins were against top 25 teams. So, yeah, they've been a rough patch, but they have the at least top 3 prospect in Jabari Smith on their team, who is an absolute god on the basketball court. So I think they'll be fine. Now, Mississippi State, however, has been playing very good recently, although it's been a very up and down season. Really, they have, again, 3 out of 5 wins, but they've actually been some decent wins. They've been looking a lot better. But Mississippi State's main problem has been their offense, really, on the season. Most of these SEC teams are usually really good on defense, and Mississippi State is no exception to this. They are a great defensive team, and they were playing at Mississippi State, who are 14-2 this season at home. Those aren't really odds that I'd love to bet on, but they're currently 2-8 versus top 25 teams this season. So, yeah, good home team, terrible record against really great teams. So I feel like those ones kind of even out. And the only 2 wins that they did get against those top 25 teams are at home. So again, it's not looking great. Now, the great thing for Auburn, though, is that they are 7-3 on the road. And the 2 of those 3 losses are against top 25 teams. I think both of them actually were top 15. So there really aren't bad L's on the road. Auburn boasts the 8th most efficient defense and the 18th most efficient offense. They hold teams less than 67 points and only allow teams to shoot 38% from the field. They are absolutely locked down. Mississippi State, like I said earlier, their bright side has been their defense and their rebounding, and they've been holding teams to about 66 points, but their offense has kind of struggled. State has only hit a total of 143 three-pointers this season through 29 games, for a total of 30.17% from the three-point line. Their most recent game against Vanderbilt was a pretty comparable team defense-wise to Auburn, although Auburn is a bit better, actually. Mississippi State only shot 17% from 3 that game. It's not great. So the fact that they can't really score too great, outside is going to be a bit tough. Now, that's not to say that they can't score. Iverson Molinar is a great bucket getter, has almost 19 points a game. This guy's an absolute hooper, but he only shoots 27% from 3. So it's not really looking great. And Molinar is more of that DeMar DeRozan type of player. He's got a lot of tricks up his sleeve, gets to the mid-range, really makes it work, but doesn't really like to take those threes too often. I've actually watched a bit of him, and he's quite the hooper. Now, the problem is going to be that Auburn has the best shot blocker in the country in Wessler. Walker Kessler. I mixed his first and last name right there. Walker Kessler. This guy blocks 4.6 shots a game. So as soon as they walk inside the three-point line, Kessler is going to be there, and it's going to be a massive threat. Kessler has had 2 games this season where he's had a triple-double with blocks, which is just unreal. So I think Kessler's presence in the paint is just going to give Mississippi State way too many problems down there, with Auburn being 4-1 at the spread in the last 5 games following a loss, and Mississippi State only being 24-1 at the spread following a win over their last 2 seasons. I just kind of have to take Auburn here at -3.
Yeah, I like that. I don't really have anything to add since I don't know much about college basketball, but I know I have a cool fact, I think.
Okay.
Because I'm pretty sure Auburn started this year at something like at least plus 10,000 to win the college basketball championship.
Yep.
And now they've made it all the way up to, what is this? 2, 4, 6. Looks like the 8th best odds to win the championship at plus 1,200.
They're honestly my pick to win the championship this year. I think they're such hoopers. Plus, Kessler, 4.6 blocks a game. This guy is just crazy, man. He had one where he had like 12 points, 11 rebounds, 12 blocks. This guy's presence in the paint is just unreal. I love watching him play. And,
yeah, no, that's impressive.
And Jabari Smith. The guy's he's going 1, 2, or 3. There's nothing else. He is an absolute hooper. Watch out for him in the NBA. So obviously, because you don't have anything else to add, we'll take it with your first pick. And I actually don't know what any of these are. So this is gonna be fun. I like this.
Yeah. So my first pick, it's gonna be in the Miami Heat versus the Milwaukee Bucks game, and tonight we're gonna see the Heat on the road taking on the Bucks. The Bucks are Bucks are 1-5 against the spread over their last 5 games, and are 1-4 against the spread in their last 5 at home. The Heat, on the other hand, they're 6-3 against the spread in their last 10 games, and they're coming off a 13-point win against the Chicago Bulls, where they covered the spread by 8 points. The Heat have covered the spread in 5 straight games on the road, and they're currently the 4th most profitable team in the NBA against the spread on the road, or overall, and then the third most profitable team against the spread on the road. And we all know the NBA, the Bucks are going to be NBA Finals contenders. However, from a betting perspective, they've been pretty horrendous against the spread this year. They're 27-35 against the spread. That's the 9th worst record against the spread in the NBA. And at home, it hasn't been better. The Bucks are 12-21 against the spread at home, and that is the 3rd worst record in the NBA at home. They're sandwiched right in between the Orlando Magic and the Houston Rockets. These two teams have already played 3 times this year. The Miami Heat have taken 2 of the 3 matchups so far this year. In those 2 games, Miami has won and covered the spread by 15 and 39 points. The one the Heat lost was in a blowout fashion as well, but the Heat were missing Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler in that one. Now they have those 2 back. Jimmy Butler and Bam have held Giannis and Middleton to a combined 8 of 25 in performance that all 4 of those players have played in this year. So that was 2 games. And obviously Giannis is one of the toughest assignments in the NBA for any defender. And I normally wouldn't even talk about anyone being able to neutralize him. However, I think this is going to be different. I think Bam is one of the only players in the NBA that can handle Giannis. He ranks 25th in defensive win shares. And he's definitely big enough to guard Giannis. And usually when guys are big enough to guard Giannis, they lack the speed and athleticism to stick with him. But I think Bam has that. And I think we're also going to see Giannis's running mate, Chris Middleton, struggle tonight as well, drawing a matchup against Jimmy Butler, who's been playing really good defense recently. Before we even talk about Jimmy's defense, we need to talk about Middleton. I think he's one of the streakiest stars in the NBA, even if you want to give him that title. At home this season, he looked like a much different player. He's averaging 20 points per game on the year, but at home he's averaging 18 points. Which it isn't a huge drop off, but the major problem is at home his volume goes up and his efficiency drops off a cliff. And now add Jimmy Butler's defense into the mix. I think he got a long night for Chris Middleton. This Miami team is a phenomenal 3-point shooting team versus the Bucks team who allows the 9th most 3-pointers per game. I like the Heat to keep this one close. I'm going to take the Heat plus the 5.5 points here. And I think they possibly grind out a win in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. I think the best point that you have in that entire thing is the Bam versus Giannis matchup. Like we're the only person I think that can single Giannis by themselves so that the other people don't have to focus on him as much is Bam. Like with other teams, you kind of have to have a 2 to 3 kind of person defense against him. But like Miami just has that benefit, just being able to only put Bam on Giannis. And then you got Jimmy just running around doing his thing on Middleton as well. I just think this one's going to be tough. And I think the biggest story in that is the fact that in the last 2 games, Holiday was a leading scorer, Connaughton was a leading scorer, and then in the other one, Giannis only had 15 as the leading scorer for the Bucks. So I mean, just in general, it basically has to be the other Bucks role players have to step up in that game.
Yeah, and something else that I think might be big in this game, you just mentioned his name. Connaughton is out in this game.
Yep.
At least as of right now. Who knows in the NBA what happens? But yeah, he's out. And I think Connaughton plays a much bigger role for this team than a lot of people think. That guy provides a lot of outside shooting that they miss. And I like Bobby Portis is a hooper, but like I just think they're missing that guard knockdown guy from the wing. Like your only guy just can't be Bobby.
Yeah, well, they have Grayson Allen, who is good, but Grayson Allen's still a bit young and very dirty player, by the way. I didn't forget those years at Duke, my guy. But I think he's good, but I think the problem that you're going to run into is with Connaughton and Grayson Allen, this Bucks team just looked better because you have that other threat from the 3-point line at that guard position.
Have so much,
But now you're only putting it on Grayson.
Yeah, and like that's what you need around Giannis. You need everybody who is knocking things down. Giannis will do everything else. But
Yeah.
when you don't have guys around Giannis that the defenders have to stick to, and you got a guy like Bam guarding Giannis, I like that matchup.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I'm with you. And then I'll keep it in the NBA. I don't know why I said I'll keep it in the NBA for this one. Do that other pick that I talked about, and it is going to be the wonderful Philadelphia 76ers with James Harden going against the New York Knicks. It's going to be a good game, especially considering how the last one went. So I'm not going to be taking spread or anything like that, just because I do think that Philly can cover this spread, but betting on a 10.5-point spread just really isn't something that I feel comfortable with, just because you never know what happens in the NBA. We can look at all the stats, everything like that, but betting on a team to win by 11, I'm just not really all for that. So we're going to be taking it to RJ Barrett, one of the most streaky players in the NBA, and I'm actually going to be looking at his points because I think that RJ is just going to be struggling a little bit. So the last game that they played against Philly, I bet on RJ under on points at 21.5, and if it weren't for one bucket with a minute and a half left, I would have had some money. They were down 13 too, but they were still trying it because it is the Knicks. And because of that 24-point performance against Philly, his points has actually moved up to 22.5. So I'm betting RJ under 22.5 points at about a -104. And I actually love this play because we look at the previous matchups between these two teams. RJ has struggled, to say the least, against Philly. He had 15 points in their last matchup and 10 points in the first matchup, which means between the three games, he's only averaging 16.3 against Philly, which is just tough for them. I also love the fact that these two teams play at a really slow pace. The Phillies actually 27th in pace, and the Knicks are 29th in pace. They just don't play fast, which already should make getting a bunch of points just for specific players a little bit harder, just because you're not getting as many opportunities as you would against maybe the Charlotte Hornets, who are all pace, no defense. And then on top of that, you have the 76ers, who are the 9th best overall defense. They are the 12th best guard defense, the 13th best forward defense, and the 4th best center defense. So you just have an all across the board really good defensive 76ers team, which I absolutely love. For the Knicks, they are still down. Nerlens Noel is a backup center, so Mitchell Robinson is still playing a lot of minutes. Derrick Rose and Kemba Walker are both not in the lineup, and this team in general just looks worse without those guys because there's just less offensive options out there, although Quickly and co have been stepping up. Now, aside from the random 46 points that RJ Barrett has dropped against Miami in that game, wild one, by the way, he really has struggled against those top 10-5 defenses in the league so far this season, really struggling to get above that 20-point mark in most of them. So I do like this one for that. The only main problem that I see is that the 76ers are hardly above a 500 home team. They're only 16-13 right now at home, but the Knicks are only 12-17 away. And both of these teams are also kind of iffy at the spread on those two. But this is a brand new Philadelphia 76ers team where we've had Harden. And if we're looking at the offensive rating in the games that Harden has played, granted it's only 2, they've had the best offensive rating in the NBA and the best defensive rating in the NBA, which is just absurd to see. So I just think this new Philadelphia team, they got the vibes, they have the fun, they're just looking to go out there and hoop and play and just have an all-around good time. And I think that the Knicks are just not going to be able to keep up with it at home, and RJ just is not going to score.
I'm not the biggest fan, but I also don't hate it.
Yeah.
I looked at this before too, and I was thinking about making a play on it, but I was leaning over.
Leaning over on it.
Yeah. He's been pretty horrible at home to the total all year. He's only hit it in 23% of games.
Yeah.
But I'm just looking at the last 10.
He has been playing crazy in the last 10.
He's hit it in 6 out of his last 10. His on the season, for the full season, he's averaging 14.9 field goal attempts per game. But over the last 5 games, he's averaging 19.8. So he's almost averaging the same amount of field goals as he needs points.
Yeah.
Like, I I think Kemba Walker being out is a big part of these last 3 games that he's played. He's been out since that I guess he had a good game before Kemba left. But then Kemba was ruled out in Miami. He went out and scored 46 and then went and scored 24 in Miami. I don't know. I think they're just going to rely on him a little more.
Yeah.
So an under scares me, but I don't feel comfortable betting the over either.
Yeah, I think the thing that's making me lean towards this is just he's been given a lot of problems to the Sixers team. And even in that game where he scored 24 points, he was still 9 of 22, which isn't a good one. But he was able to get to the line. I personally watched this game, and it was a very, very ticky-tacky foul kind of game. Everybody was getting sent to the line. I personally wasn't a fan of the officiating in this game, as I think there was 26 fouls called on Philly, and there was 24 fouls called on the Knicks. There was a lot in the second half, man. It was a free throw shooting fest, and it was honestly kind of annoying to watch. But we can't. I guess to put it this way, Embiid had 27 free throws by himself, and Harden had 10. Like, they were just sending everybody to the line. It was just honestly horrible to watch. But I just don't love how inconsistent RJ Barrett is. And if you just look at his history of mostly struggling against a lot of these, better defensive teams, I just think the odds are looking a bit better for that. Like, he had 19 against Boston, then 13 against Boston. He had 19 against Toronto. It was a good guard defensive team. So honestly, I just think if RJ just can't get it going, it's going to be a tough one. Because if you really think about it, he's got, Matisse out there on the perimeter guarding him. And then as soon as he gets inside, he has to go and attack Joel, which for anybody is just going to be a tough game.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be a tough matchup for sure.
So I guess we'll leave the debates for now, because we've been going on this one for a little while. I'll let you finish up with your last pick.
Yeah, so I'm going back to the game of the night, actually. I'm going back to the Miami and the Bucks game.
Ooh,
We're making
okay.
a second play on that game. And this play is going to directly correlate to the last one, actually. And I'm going to take a page right out of your book, and we're going to the star player.
Oh, I love where this is going.
So we're actually going to go to Giannis.
Oh, it's just getting even better. Please tell me we're going points, rebounds, and assists.
We're going points, rebounds, and assists.
Ooh.
45.5. And we're betting the under.
Oh, yeah.
We're not betting the over. None of that crap. We're taking the opposite method of points, rebounds, and assists. But we all know Giannis is a monster, and he's been pretty good at covering his prop totals. However, as I talked about in the first bet, I think Bam is one of the only guys in the league capable of handling Giannis. And the 2 matchups that played against Miami so far this season, he only had 25 points, rebounds, and assists, and 27 points, rebounds, and assists. And one of those games was actually with Dwayne Dedmon guarding him. So I think Miami just does actually a good job handling Giannis in general. Even when you look historically, we can look back at the Eastern Conference, I think semifinals it was, or finals in 2019, 2020, when they won the 4-1 series, or series 4-1, when they probably shouldn't have won that series. And I know they played a series last year too, but I think we can kind of throw that one out too, naturally, just because Bam was injured in that series. And he's the difference maker here. Giannis has been playing well lately, but the Bucks haven't been playing all that well as a team. The Heat have been playing pretty good basketball lately, and they've only allowed 110 points in 2 of their last 10 games. They allowed the 7th least assists per game and the least rebounds per game to opponents. I like the Heat tonight, so naturally I'm gonna like the Giannis under. But the Heat ranked 29th in pace, and I think they know better than to let the Bucks get out and run in transition. So I think we're gonna see a slower pace playoff style basketball game again tonight, where both teams are trying to lock up on defense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you here. And I think one thing that you sold yourself with is, with those rebounds, also mentioning the fact that Bobby Portis has been a horse on the rebounds lately. I mean, he's had, in just the last 4 games, 10, 12, 7, and 14. So Giannis has been fighting, with his own teammate, I guess. And you have, Serge Ibaka in there who's been playing some rotational minutes, getting some extra boards, just also taking those away from Giannis, and you just have the Heat, who are a great team. I mean, we talked about it earlier with the Bam Adebayo. It's just looking good. I like this. This was a bet I was also looking at. I just didn't take the time to, I guess, fully research it for the podcast. But I 100% agree with you. I like this one.
I think this is like just one of those unicorn games where there's kind of things that you can like kind of already see before they actually happen. I don't necessarily think like the Miami Heat are gonna like cover and beat them by 15 or 39 like they have in the past.
Yeah.
Like I do think the Bucks could still win this game. Like I think the Heat keep it very close. It's going to be a very tight game. Probably ends up somewhere in the range of, I don't know, 102 to 100 or 99 to 96, something along that lines for whichever team. I can't really pick a team, so that's kind of why I went with the dog too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just don't like the pace is just not going to be there. And like Bobby Portis is horsing. I don't think there'll be the Bucks are either going to let Giannis try and score points, which isn't going to happen like the rate it normally does on Bam.
Yeah.
Or they're going to maybe allow assists, but I would much rather them allow assists for the points, rebounds, and assists bet. But like I just don't see him getting enough assists
to cover all
and
that.
like them to even get enough threes up in the game to like even have to worry about like him having a massive triple-double stat line, like a 15-15 and 20 game type of thing or whatever.
It would be wild.
Like something stupid like that.
It would be wild. So
I just don't think the pace is there.
So we've had one interruption before, and I'm gonna take it there again. I only said I was gonna have 2 official podcast plays, but as we've been talking, screw it. We're going with the third. And I'm gonna be going on Middle Tennessee versus Charlotte, a game that a lot of you guys probably aren't even going to be aware of. And this game is actually crazy. We did some quick little research while we were talking, and I actually kind of love this game. I'm so in tune with it. I'm researching games while we're talking. I mean, how do you prepare for this? It's crazy. And we have the Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders going up against the Charlotte 49ers, the hot 22-7 Middle Tennessee versus 15-13 at Charlotte. And this game, I think, is some fugazi. Now, I have a personal bet on this at -2 on the spread, but the spread's currently -2.5. Look at me, just getting the early plays today. I mean, it's just beautiful. It's beautiful. I love it. And this game, I think, is pretty damn simple, if I do say so myself. If we're just looking at this, I don't really understand how this is only -2. The previous matchup between these two teams, Middle Tennessee took that by 15 points, which is crazy. Middle Tennessee has been playing their best basketball as of recently. They're averaging 75 points per game. They're shooting 45% from 3. They have 113th most efficient offense, and they're shooting 76% from the free throw line, which is currently their highest of the season, which is crazy. And then we're looking at Charlotte, who are playing some of their worst basketball. They are averaging 71 points per game, and they're shooting a nice 47% from the field, which is pretty damn good, with a pretty damn efficient offense as well. But the problem is they are the 285th least efficient defense. So we're going against a great offense with one of the worst defenses here, which just means a team that's already scoring almost 76 a game and now is also going to be able to just hoop on a team that's probably not going to be able to defend them, which is just absolutely wild to me. This is only a -2. Just for some quick spread stats, we have Charlotte at 2-6 at the spread in their last 8 games against a winning 600% winning team. And Charlotte's also 1-4 at the spread in their last 5 games versus just a team with a winning record. Whereas Middle Tennessee is 10-1 at the spread in their last 13 road games. And Middle Tennessee is also 25-2 at the spread in their last 27 games. I mean, most people that I've seen talking about this game just think it's absolutely fugazi that they even have anything below like a -5 for this game. But I'm taking Middle Tennessee at -2. I'm riding with it, and I'm going to have a good time.
I couldn't even handicap a top 25 college basketball game for you. So between these two, that's all you, big dog.
It's on me. I love Middle Tennessee, man. There's some hoopers. It was 4 or 5 years ago. They upset Michigan State in a tournament. Been a fan ever since. Anytime you upset a big dog like that, I'm going to keep some eyes on you because I respect the hustle for it. So those are
I
our
will
final
let everyone
plays.
know right now, though, that I will be betting college basketball when the tournament comes around. So fade
Ooh.
those.
Ooh, I like
Fade
this.
those. Fade those.
Anyway, I'll get our final picks set up, and we can get you guys out of here. And what I think is actually going to be our longest podcast to date. Kind of crazy. We were talking a little bit crazy today, but anyway, we'll get that done real quick for you. All right, so we have today's picks here, whereas Auburn -3 versus Mississippi State at -110. The Heat at +4.5 versus the Bucks at -110 as well. Giannis under 45.5 points, rebounds, and assists at -115. RJ Barrett under 22.5 points at -104. And Middle Tennessee to cover their -1.5 spread versus Charlotte at -115. The numbers are looking a little bit similar today, but it's all good because this is going to be the first 5-0 night in the podcast. I'm calling it right now. Watch this. Absolute heaters are incoming for the boys. I'm ready for it. Anyway, I'm Joe. That's Jared. If you guys enjoyed the podcast and you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button down below. Seriously, if you're watching right now, hit the like button. I'll wait a second so you can do it. All right, thank you. And hit that subscribe button as well. Comment what you guys think of the podcast. If you're on any of the podcast platforms, make sure you leave us a nice, wonderful 5-star review. And again, I'll give you guys a quick little second so you can do that right now without listening to my voice. All right, thank you. Anyway, go make some bets and make some money.
See ya.